One late night, a group of people who were tired of life decided to commit suicide by filling their car with exhaust fumes and waiting to die inside. However, suddenly, a woman approached, pulled out the exhaust hose, and drove the group away. She sped through the night, causing the people to panic and scream for help. She questioned why they were calling for help if they were seeking death. They all admitted they were wrong and wanted to live, so she stopped the car in front of a broken highway wall. Knowing they genuinely wanted to live, her mission was complete. Now, we meet Jun Woong. He's interviewing for a job at a fertilizer company, but he's rejected because his competitor is the son of a powerful person. Jun Woong, tired of life, goes for a drink and heads home. He's applied to many places but keeps getting rejected. Feeling dejected, he sees a man about to commit suicide. Wanting to avoid trouble, Jun Woong feels obligated to help after witnessing the scene. As they struggle, two people run from the nearby building. One of them is the woman from the previous night. She pushes them both off the bridge to prevent their suicides, but the man is stubborn and jumps anyway, choosing a painful jump over living. Jun Woong tries to hold on, but loses his balance and falls as well. Jun Woong wakes up in the hospital, realizing he's alive but somehow still in bed. When the woman appears, he yells and forces her to cover his mouth. Once Jun Woong calms down, she removes her hand. She reveals she's a Grim Reaper and that Jun Woong's accident was their mistake. He's been in a coma for 3 years and she's taking him to the company for the president to decide what to do with him. Jun Woong is given a temporary body and heads to a funeral service with the woman. As they go deeper, he's surprised by a secret room leading to a bridge across hell, leading to the Grim Reaper company. He's taken to the president's office, also known as God. Confused about what God looks like, an old woman appears and offers him yogurt. While rambling about God, the old woman transforms into God, leaving Jun Woong shocked. The president apologizes for the unintended accident and gives him 2 choices: 3 years in a coma or work for the company for 6 months, after which he'll wake up. He's also offered guaranteed employment for any job he applies for. Jun Woong thinks it's a dream and refuses, so the president shows him the reality of being in a coma and his grieving mother, causing him to panic and agree. The president then joins a meeting with department heads, discussing the need to reduce the number of suicides. This responsibility falls on Koo Ryeon, but she's struggling due to understaffing, having only 2 people in her department. During the meeting, Koo Ryeon requests additional staff, but the president declines as no one wants to join, not because they aren't hiring. Later, the president takes Jun Woong on a tour, and they bump into Koo Ryeon and her assistant, Lim. The president suggests Jun Woong join Koo Ryeon's team because they're short-staffed. When Koo Ryeon refuses, she's forced to write a self-criticism. Lim accepts the offer because refusing the boss could lead to their team being disbanded. Outside, Koo Ryeon demands Jun Woong stay by her side to avoid further involvement in trouble. The trio then heads to their first target, a woman in her 30s with a negativity score under 50%. As they arrive, accidents and misfortune continuously happen to the target. Just as a car is about to fly towards her, Jun Woong wants to help, but Koo Ryeon uses her powers to freeze time, adjusting the car's trajectory before time resumes. Lim warns Koo Ryeon to avoid using her powers haphazardly because cameras and other surveillance systems are ubiquitous. She explains to Jun Woong their mission is to help those contemplating suicide and prevent those who haven't lived out their lifespan from accidents. An app helps them find people who are about to die. The higher the score, the more likely they are to commit suicide. The trio infiltrates a newspaper office because their target is an editor. She's forced to interview a novelist about their book idea, but because the ideas stem from past bullying, she's afraid to do the interview. The pressure from the editor-in-chief intensifies, increasing her negativity score. At the end of the interview, Jun Woong sensed something between the target and the novelist, so Koo Ryeon asked Lim to report to the company and borrow a memory key. That night, Lim returned with a key, but as he was about to enter, his work hours ended, so he went home. Koo Ryeon couldn't stop him because she had promised. She had no choice but to enter the shared memories with Jun Woong. She warned him not to touch anything, as it could cause disruption, and also reminded him that memories are a terrifying place. As they entered, Koo Ryon cautioned Jun Woong not to touch anyone, lest they be trapped forever. They investigated and discovered that the editor and novelist were former classmates. The novelist had been envious of the editor's happy life and led a group of bullies to torment her. She forced the editor to smile every time she heard the click of a pen. The bullying escalated, but the editor was forced to comply with a smile. One day, the editor's best friend wanted to report the situation to the head teacher. But the novelist's group found them and offered to let the editor go free in exchange for her friend taking her place. The editor had no choice but to plead and continue to endure the bullying. Jun Woong couldn't stand it, ignoring Koo Ryon's warning and causing the memory world to become chaotic. They went inside and started looking for a way out, but the fragments of memory began to mix, forcing them to run from one room to another. Chaos ensued everywhere they went. Finally, they stopped on a train, believing it to be safe. However, the lights began flickering and people started disappearing. They ran to the last car and managed to open the door. Luckily, it opened and they escaped. Koo Ryon berated Jun Woong, but he could only say sorry. She demanded her key back, but he had accidentally broken it while opening the door to escape. They left the newspaper office, and Jun Woong was frustrated because the evil people seemed to live carefree lives while the victims had to suppress their pain. Koo Ryon said that was a universal problem that had existed throughout history. They wanted to do something, as they had an interview the next day. Just then, Lim returned. They prepared themselves and appeared at the interview the next morning, disguised within the team. As the interview was about to start, the novelist kept clicking her pen, so Jun Woong made her put it away. He wanted to do something during the interview, but they weren't supposed to punish the bad guys, but to prevent them from committing suicide. Lim reminded him that his actions had made the future of the department even more bleak because they had lost the memory key. However, Koo Ryon noticed that the editor's negativity score had suddenly risen to over 90%, with the peak coming tonight. The editor wanted to cancel the program, but the editor-in-chief refused, minimizing the bullying she had endured. The novelist continued to torment her mentally, causing her to break down and run to the rooftop. Jun Woong quickly followed and tried to stop her, but his persuasion was useless. As she opened the door, Koo Ryon and Lim arrived. Koo Ryon criticized the editor for not fighting back and trying to overcome the situation, instead choosing death. Such harsh words can sometimes be effective, but sometimes not. Jun Woong was upset and argued with Koo Ryon, so Lim had to pull him inside. Koo Ryon's words only made the editor more negative, leading her to stand on the ledge. Jun Woong didn't want anything bad to happen, so he ran to the edge of the rooftop first. But standing before the precipice of life and death, the urge to live awakened within her. She abandoned her suicide attempt. Koo Ryon revealed her identity as a Grim Reaper, causing the editor to be scared and lose her balance, falling. As she fell, she gradually understood the immensity of her desire to live. Koo Ryon quickly flew after her and caught her before she hit the ground. Koo Ryon reminded her that she had to overcome adversity on her own, because no one would help her. Lim arrived and informed Koo Ryon that the percentage had only stabilized and they couldn't yet declare it a success. But Jun Woong brought the editor to someone she had once idolized. This person helped her to feel happier. Jun Woong also hugged her and encouraged her for not giving up. Koo Ryon checked and the percentage returned to a safe level, ensuring that the target wouldn't attempt suicide again. They all then left. But Koo Ryon told them both to clock out for the day. Jun Woong was confused, but Lim explained that Koo Ryon was taking care of her own business. She had gone to see the novelist and gave her a ticket to experience what it felt like to be bullied. When the novelist was scared, Koo Ryon also took away her fame, making her endure the feeling of being condemned by the world. However, she warned the novelist not to think about suicide, because hell was even scarier. She then went to deal with the two girls who had been involved in the bullying. Later, she reported to the president and refused to take Jun Woong because he was too disruptive. She asked Jun Woong what he wanted to do, and he chose to work in the image design department, which was responsible for creating memories for people. Jun Woong quickly made friends with the people there and even did a good job, but he couldn't stand how they belittled the work done by Koo Ryon's team. He left the department and went to find the president, hoping she would give him another chance. Otherwise, he was prepared to face 3 years in a coma. Another meeting was held, and no department wanted to take Jun Woong. The president was about to declare that he would be in a coma for 3 years when Koo Ryon stepped in and agreed to take him. She and Lim took Jun Woong to their office. It was the former office of the team that escorted souls to hell. The team had been disbanded, so the office was now dilapidated. Koo Ryon identified the next person they needed to save. She asked Lim to explain the rules to Jun Woong. The first rule was to dress properly. The second was to live under a fake identity with a fake ID. And the final rule was to refrain from using his abilities in front of ordinary people. Once everything was ready, Jun Woong went home to visit his father because it was his death anniversary. His mother and sister were also home, so he hid in the bathroom. He came out when he heard them going to the kitchen to cook. Suddenly, Jun Woong received information about the next target. Lim explained that the target was someone Jun Woong knew, who was suicidal because he had failed the police exam for 3 years in a row. Lim was worried that Jun Woong would let his emotions get in the way, but Koo Ryon said that sometimes emotions were the key to solving problems. Jun Woong ran off and recalled a memory from the past. The target, Yi Su, was a classmate who was bullied, but despite this, he always fought back. Jun Woong hated trouble and tried to avoid it, but bad luck seemed to follow him. Eventually, he risked his own safety and joined Yi Su in fighting back. They both ended up with swollen faces. They went to eat fried chicken together, and Yi Su said he would keep fighting back. Seeing how different his close friend was now, Jun Woong went to Yi Su's house and pounded on the door. But when it opened, Yi Su didn't recognize him. He simply couldn't recognize Jun Woong, because he was seeing the fake ID photo that Lim had given him. Jun Woong called the police, and he was the one who got arrested. Lim arrived later and bailed Jun Woong out, reminding him of the rules. Koo Ryon told him to remember that this was his job, and he would eventually save people, so he shouldn't overreact. They tried to get Yi Su out first. Lim and Koo Ryon pretended to be missionaries, but Yi Su thought they were scammers and didn't want to talk to them. Jun Woong came up with the idea of texting Yi Su a quote and luring him outside. But they waited and waited, and Koo Ryon was about to kick the door down when Yi Su ran out and sprinted towards a destination. They all chased after him, and Jun Woong wanted to teleport, but Lim warned him that there were cameras everywhere. Even Grim Reapers couldn't escape the watchful eyes of technology. They lost track of him and split up to search. Jun Woong used a map and discovered that Yi Su was at the hospital, where he was staying. At the same time, the head of the Soul Escort Department was also at the hospital, to take the soul of a woman who had died in an accident. Jun Woong found Yi Su outside his hospital room. Yi Su was there to confirm if Jun Woong was the one who sent the message. Suddenly, Jun Woong's body started to convulse, causing doctors and nurses to rush over. Jun Woong, in the present, also felt his body acting strange. The head of the Soul Escort Department arrived and threw Jun Woong away. Koo Ryon and Lim ran over and pleaded for him to stop, but he said that with this kind of work, Koo Ryon's department would eventually be disbanded. As they were leaving, Lim explained that being close to the original body could cause some glitches, leading to memory loss. The worst-case scenario was that he would lose his memory of his own face and wouldn't be able to possess his body again. Jun Woong blamed Lim for not mentioning this beforehand, but it was his fault for not reading the contract carefully. Yi Su returned to his old bar and drank beer. Jun Woong also went there, and the simple act of opening a beer made Yi Su remember and realize that he was Jun Woong. Yi Su poured out his heart, saying he had tried so hard, to the point where he was almost sick, but he still couldn't get the job. Jun Woong understood the feeling of trying hard but not getting a job. They embraced each other and cried. Yi Su said he wanted fried chicken, then collapsed. Jun Woong called for Koo Ryon. She was partly moved and partly due to her job, and asked Lim to stay and watch over Yi Su. She went to find the president to borrow a time travel vehicle. The president was hesitant, but when Koo Ryon said she was going to buy chicken, the president agreed. Koo Ryon went to the garage to get the key. As they went downstairs, Jun Woong was stunned to see all the luxurious cars, but the one they were going to use was an old, beat-up car. They drove straight into the past, many years ago. Koo Ryon wanted Jun Woong to stop gawking and give directions quickly. They went to Yi Su's house when he was a kid. His family was struggling. The insurance company only agreed to pay if the person named in the contract died. Yi Su's father didn't have enough money for tuition, so Yi Su had to leave school. While selling their possessions at the market, the father left to find a job. Jun Woong took advantage of the opportunity to ask about the chicken Yi Su liked best, but he didn't know, as his father always bought it. They had to go back and wait until his father bought the chicken before following him. The family was running out of money to pay hospital bills, and Yi Su's mother was about to be discharged. When they returned home, their landlord had already moved all their belongings out. Jun Woong realized this trip might be difficult, so he decided to say goodbye and leave. But as he walked in, he heard the father planning to leave Yi Su at the hospital and go buy chicken. He followed him. Meanwhile, Yi Su woke up, and Lim had to follow him because his negativity score was reaching its peak. Yi Su ran out into the street to commit suicide. Lim ran out and grabbed him. He tried to calm Yi Su down, but Yi Su realized the look in his father's eyes and turned around. Jun Woong and Koo Ryon realized he was going to commit suicide to get insurance money for his family. Jun Woong called out to him, but he wouldn't listen. Koo Ryon stepped on the gas and sped ahead to block him, but he didn't stop and swerved in another direction, crashing into a container truck. Koo Ryon knew this would happen, so she didn't use her powers to intervene. Jun Woong tried to dissuade the father from being so negative, while Lim called the police, as things weren't good on this side either. She asked Lim to wait a bit longer because things were tense over there. Koo Ryon slapped the father to wake him up, because he was planning to abandon his wife and children and die. But he said that was the only way he could do it. He wondered if his wife and children would be happy with that money. Hearing this, he became even more helpless, not knowing what to do. Koo Ryon called Lim again to check on the situation, but the score hadn't decreased and Yi Su ran off again, so Lim hung up. Koo Ryon and Jun Woong decided to at least bring the chicken back, because the time tunnel was about to close. They searched everywhere, but all the restaurants were closed. But Koo Ryon saw one restaurant left open, with the same name as the company. Now she understood why the president let her go so easily. There were no employees, but they had all the ingredients, so they had to make it themselves. Jun Woong had a chef's license, so he took advantage of that. They made 2 boxes, one for Yi Su's father and the other to bring back to the present. The memory of the fried chicken would be recreated through this box. That day, Koo Ryon and Jun Woong dressed in costumes to celebrate Yi Su's birthday. Koo Ryon really had to put in effort to wear that costume. They delivered the chicken and immediately left. Back in the present, Yi Su ate the chicken and remembered his feelings from that day. Combined with Koo Ryon's reassurance that Jun Woong was definitely still alive, Yi Su regained his positivity and decided to live. Yi Su suddenly burst into tears because the chicken was terrible. Jun Woong didn't believe him, so he offered some to Koo Ryon and Lim, but both of them avoided it. He tried it himself, and even he couldn't stomach it. Who could eat such a thing, even if it was his own cooking? Earlier, when they were leaving, Jun Woong remembered something and asked Koo Ryon to stop the car. He went to find his younger self and carried him back to the present, so he could say goodbye to his father while he was away on a business trip. He also wanted to take a picture of the 2 of them together, because his father had never been in any family pictures. Jun Woong acted as the photographer, and thanks to that, the family had their first complete photo. Going back 1 year, Koo Ryon was still working for the escort team, catching criminals. At that time, she worked under the command of Park, who was still the head of the escort team today. Park called her to prepare to escort a man who had committed suicide. To Park, suicide was a crime, a disrespect for oneself. The man had let his lover die, even though Koo Ryon tried to save her. Park believed that only those who could overcome adversity were worthy of living, while the weak were eliminated. That was the nature of humans. Back in the present, Koo Ryon was summoned by the president because she had broken the rules during her recent mission. First, she used her abilities in front of humans. Second, she interfered with the timeline. Third, she let Jun Woong violate the rules. Jun Woong was outside, anxious. Lim arrived and said that it was Jun Woong's fault, so he should be prepared to be scolded. Koo Ryon came out later. She was forced to wear a ring that limited her abilities for a week. Jun-woon wanted Koo-ryun to punish him by hitting him, but she didn't want to. However, he followed her, so she told him to buy her coffee as atonement. When he got to the cafe, he ran into the soul that was supposed to have been escorted to the hospital that day. She noticed that Jun-woon could see her and tried to get him to help, because she knew about Koo-ryun's team. She had escaped from the escorts because they had been careless. Her name was Na-young, and she wanted Koo-ryun's team to help her. But she didn't want to break any more rules, so she told Lim to call the escorts. Before they could, they received a notification about a new target. Na-young's husband, Woo Jin. Woo Jin had been diagnosed with an overdose of sleeping pills and was in the hospital. He was extremely unstable mentally. Na-young pleaded with them to save her husband. Just then, the escorts arrived, and Na-young ran away. Jun-woon chased after her. They wanted Koo-ryun to reveal Na-young's location, but she didn't know. Park also arrived, and he cornered Koo-ryun because she was interfering with his work. But protecting Na-young was also part of her job, so she refused to give her up. Park eventually gave in and left. Koo-ryun told Lim to find Na-young to see if she could help save Woo Jin. Jun-woon and Na-young ran to Woo Jin's house. Lim arrived shortly after. He used his powers to make Na-young faint, so she wouldn't be found by the search team outside. After a while, Lim woke her up and wanted to know if she could save Woo Jin. She recounted her love story. With that information, Koo-ryun became Woo Jin's therapist. She let him sit for an hour to see if he would say anything. Woo Jin didn't utter a word. He said that Koo-ryun had never experienced the same feeling as him, the feeling of losing the person he loved, and above all, the regret of having killed her with his own hands. In that hour, Woo Jin remembered everything from the past. When the hour was up, he left, but Koo-ryun wanted him to leave the sleeping pills in his bag. He said that there were many other ways to die, so he didn't care. Koo-ryun then called Lim to ask if he had found Na-young yet, because her negativity score was very high. Koo-ryun then went to Na-young's house to see her and wanted to be sure that she could save Woo Jin, because he was now convinced that he had killed Na-young. Suddenly, some uninvited guests arrived. The group went outside and saw that the guests were assistants from the escort team. Lim wanted everyone to leave first, while he would take care of them. He wasn't joking, because he single-handedly took them all down. Meanwhile, Koo-ryun wanted to know why Woo Jin thought he had killed Na-young. She recounted that Woo Jin was born on the same day his mother died. His father was heartbroken and always blamed him for his mother's death. After a while, his father also committed suicide, and Woo Jin was adopted by an aunt and uncle. They loved Woo Jin very much. Years later, Woo Jin returned home and learned that his new parents had been in an accident. He was devastated and contemplated suicide, but music saved him. He considered music to be his reason for living until he met Na-young. Her parents didn't object to music, but they advised him to treat it as a hobby, because it was hard to make a living from it. Woo Jin went to wash his face and heard Na-young and her parents arguing. They thought he wouldn't be able to provide for their daughter. Angry with her parents, Na-young left home and went to live with Woo Jin. But he worried that he couldn't give her happiness, so they broke up. But they realized they couldn't live without each other, so they got back together. Back in the present, they went to the hospital, but Woo Jin had already run away. As they were searching for him, they accidentally bumped into Park. They tried to turn around and escape, but he was very skilled at using his abilities, making it difficult to get away. Koo-ryun took a risk and used her powers to take the three of them away. However, Na-young ran off in the middle of their escape, forcing Jun-woon to go back and find her. Na-young was then caught by Park, but Lim arrived in time and told her to run. Park was surprised that the Lim he brought back from the past was now defying him. Lim knew he would be punished, but he was going to go all out. They engaged in a fierce battle, jumping from one place to another until Lim was completely powerless against Park. Park's experience allowed him to see Lim's movement patterns. Koo-ryun had to show up and demand that Park release her assistant, as she was the one in charge. She wanted to file a complaint against him for hindering her work, but she had been the one to hinder him first. Koo-ryun had to humble herself and make a deal with Park. She would fulfill one of his requests in exchange for him leaving Na Young alone for half a day. But he only gave her 2 hours. Lim tried to stop her, but it was useless. She signed the agreement and returned. Lim began to yell because contracts between Grim Reapers were binding. Even the president couldn't break them. Ku Ryon said that instead of wasting time complaining, they should go find Wu Jin first and deal with it later. They all split up to search. Only Na Young found him. Wu Jin remembered how Na Young's family had scolded and criticized him. He went to the top floor of the hospital to jump. Ku Ryon ran to him and tried to reason with him, but he was stubborn, convinced he had killed Na Young. She told him that he had to accept reality, because Na Young wouldn't want him to die. She had risked her life to protect him, so he shouldn't waste it. But he still wouldn't accept it and jumped. Ku Ryon used her powers to stop him and also used them to help Na Young reach him. They were allowed to speak to each other one last time. Na Young wanted Wu Jin to live for her, so she could rest in peace. She told him to be strong and wait for her. She would also be there, waiting for him. Wu Jin finally understood, and his negativity score decreased. But when Jun Wong arrived, Ku Ryon fainted. Her hand had been severely affected by the restraining ring. Later, the president summoned Park to report. His experience this time made him hate humans even more, because they easily chose death. But then a few words could bring them back to life. The president said that because he had never been human, he wouldn't understand the meaning of those words. Ku Ryon had to write a self-criticism for interfering with another department's work. Jun Wong asked her a few questions about the situation. Was it possible that Wu Jin had done something wrong in his past life, which led to his suffering in this life? Ku Ryon explained that everything that happened was due to external factors and chance. But Wu Jin and Na Young were destined to be together, no matter which life they were in. The only way they would be separated was if Wu Jin broke the bond by committing suicide. Ku Ryon said that the responsibility of those who had a tomorrow was to love and cherish those around them, and to appreciate what they had. A few days later, the president summoned Ku Ryon because she had a new mission. The target was a 90-year-old man. The day he was supposed to die was also the day he had decided to commit suicide. She was called in to help him find satisfaction in life and abandon his suicide plans, so he could live out his predetermined lifespan. She went back and informed her 2 employees, then they went to the old man's house together. His name was Chun, and he lived in a rundown area on the outskirts of town. His house was small and practically falling apart. It was also very messy, so the 3 of them decided to clean up. Ku Ryon thought they should buy some cleaning supplies. Both of them said it was Jun Wong's job, and he knew they were trying to shirk their responsibilities, so he went to buy the supplies. When he returned, he accidentally ran into Chun, who was pulling a cart. He lied, saying he was from the committee. Chun said the area used to be very crowded, but people had gradually moved away. He hadn't left because the compensation they offered was too low. He had lived there his whole life. Just then, some real estate agents appeared. They wanted him to move so they could flatten the area and build new houses. They got more and more aggressive and even touched Jun Wong. Chun tried to stop him from getting into a fight, but Jun Wong was so angry that he apologized to Chun and ran out to punch the contractor in the face. When they got back, Lim was surprised that Jun Wong had stood up and fought. Chun wanted to know who they were. Even though Jun Wong tried to hide it, the other 2 revealed the truth, including the fact that he was going to die tomorrow. Chun went into the house with Ku Ryon to talk. Jun Wong wanted to know why he looked so healthy, but was going to die. Lim said he was sick. Even though he was a soldier, he had no family. Ku Ryon wanted to help him have a meaningful last day, but he just wanted to live like he normally did, doing his usual chores. First, he went to collect scrap metal and paper. They followed him, helping him pull his cart and collect things. Then they went to sell it at the scrap yard. The buyer there had also been chased away by the real estate agents, so he wouldn't be there for much longer. He didn't have much money to pay, but Chun understood his situation, so he gave him all the money he had saved. He refused to take it, knowing how hard Chun had worked for it. Chun said that when adults gave you something, you should just accept it and say thank you, because he had planned to give him some money in the past. The man accepted and promised to treat him to a meal if he had the chance. Chun went to watch the sunset. His memories from the past drifted by in a meaningless way. He felt he had made a mistake with his past decision, leading to his loneliness and lack of close relationships. He had chosen to join the war to protect his country. His only family was his mother, who didn't want him to go. But his decision was firm. On the battlefield, his close comrades fell one by one. Only one survived, but he lost a leg. He blamed Chun for saving him, forcing him to live in such a miserable state. When the war ended, Chun returned to find his village gone. He felt relieved to be able to finally confess his feelings. Now he wanted to have a meal and a last drink of alcohol. Jun Woong thought it was wrong to drink alcohol without cake. But Ku Ryon stopped him, afraid it would be like the chicken incident. Lim went into the kitchen and made a delicious cake. Jun Woong wanted to know what happened to Chun after he returned. He said that after he came back, both his mind and body became abnormal. His hands shook, and his mind was haunted. He could only manage to make a living day by day. His wife didn't work, and when they got old, they just collected scrap metal. Memories flooded back, making him unable to control himself, so he went out. Ku Ryon followed to make sure he was okay. Jun Woong realized his question was unnecessary, but Lim explained that during the war, Grim Reapers also had a hard time. People died constantly, so the escort team was always busy. Employees from other departments were also sent to help with the escorts. Suddenly, they both saw something on their phones. Ku Ryon went out to talk to him. He shared that he was envious of Jun Woong for being born in this time. If he had been, he wouldn't have been so lonely, lived such a meaningless life, and had no accomplishments. Ku Ryon took him to see the entire city. She wanted him to know that thanks to soldiers like him, the country was now as beautiful as it was. Jun Woong then ran over and proudly announced that he had found information about Chun's former comrade. He was still alive and happy, and he wanted to find information about Chun to help him. Ku Ryon later returned to the company and requested that Park personally escort Chun with the highest respect. She also requested this from the president, but she refused, not wanting to favor any one individual. Back at the house, the real estate agents came to cause trouble again. Lim stood up to them, but they were still being aggressive, so Ku Ryon asked the two of them to take Chun inside while she dealt with them. Chun was now sick and was preparing to leave, as he had planned. Ku Ryon effortlessly defeated and chased them away. Jun Woong couldn't take it anymore and went outside. Ku Ryon told him to come back in when he was calm. After a while, the escort team arrived. Jun Woong asked them for more time, but Park himself arrived. He went to see Chun and remembered him, remembering the night he and everyone else had to go to the battlefield to escort people, and Chun's back was the thing he remembered most clearly. Park wasn't heartless, but he had to put his emotions aside because of his responsibility to his job. He thanked Chun for his contribution to the country. Later, all the employees and the president came in person to see Chun off. This was an exception that the president had just allowed. She gave Chun a peaceful and easy departure. She promised to bless him more than he deserved, to compensate him for his difficult time. As his soul was about to be taken away, he thanked them again for showing him that his choice had been right. Everyone paid their respects to the national hero. Chun was taken to the Garden of Eden and reunited with his mother. Jun Woong was still upset because the president was God, but she couldn't interfere to help good people like Chun. She said that because she couldn't, Ku Ryon's team was created. Jun Woong initially only saw this as a way to get his life back, but after working there for a while, he found it to be a valuable job. Not only was it difficult and pressured, but it also helped people become better. A few days later, the entire company was infected with a computer virus, causing work to come to a complete standstill. Souls flooded in, forced to line up to report their names. Ku Ryon's team encountered a problem. When the notification was sent, there was a glitch, so the only information they had was the date of birth and place of work. They went to the company to try to find the target, but it was incredibly crowded. Ku Ryon went back and asked the president for help, because they couldn't find the target with just 3 people. But the president couldn't help either, because the entire company was having issues. Just then, Jun Woong found a solution. The company was hiring new people, so the 3 of them would apply. Jun Woong said that Lim might be able to pass the interview, but Ku Ryon was less likely. But when they went for the interview, Jun Wong started rambling and was rejected. Lim answered the technical questions well, but he was too serious and even talked back to the interviewer, so he was rejected. Only Koo Ryon was accepted, because she was a woman and this was a cosmetics company. However, the interviewer said things that annoyed her, so she made him trip and fall. She used some kind of trick and got them all hired. As soon as they entered the office, they were briefed by the assistant manager. They noticed that a young man there was constantly being yelled at by his boss, which meant he could be the target. At first glance, everyone seemed normal and showed no signs of negativity. So Lim wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to hack into the system to see who was born in April. He just stole the boss's ID to access the computer, but then the boss returned. Lim quickly grabbed the information and hid under the desk. The boss came in, took off his shoes, and let out a strong odor. Lim had to hold his breath to avoid being discovered. After a while, he escaped. Koo Ryon wanted to know the information. She learned that there were 4 candidates. The first was the overweight woman, the second was the young man who was often yelled at, the third was the assistant manager, and the fourth, and most likely, was Dong Da. She had a young child and was often late for work, so the boss yelled at her constantly. Her daughter kept calling Dong Da because her father was busy and couldn't watch her. Koo Ryon offered to watch her daughter for a while because Dong Da had a meeting soon. Meanwhile, the young man who was often yelled at asked one of the other 2 to help him carry stuff to the warehouse. They started comparing their strength, but Jun Wong wanted to have an arm wrestling contest to be fair. He prepared himself thoroughly, and then Lim easily overpowered him. He went to carry the boxes and secretly followed the young man. The other 2 asked Jun Wong to keep an eye on them. Koo Ryon was exhausted from watching the child. Lim was exhausted from carrying the boxes, and Jun Wong was following the overweight woman. He saw that people constantly made fun of her appearance. At the same time, he also saw her negativity score increasing, making her the most likely candidate. When she came back to eat at the company, the boss criticized her for various things. Jun Wong couldn't take it anymore, so he stood up and said that the boss was no different. He was being hypocritical by criticizing others. That night, the group gathered to discuss who had the most potential. The first person was the young man known for his insults, seemingly lacking due to his debts and financial struggles. However, he had a promising future as he was about to start a business with his friends. The single mother, on the other hand, excelled in both work and childcare, albeit being time-constrained. Nonetheless, she seemed happy overall. Jun Wong, however, believed Bo Ram, the chubby woman, had the most potential, citing her experience with body shaming. Regarding the assistant, Yi Na, they were unsure. While admired by many for her competence and early promotion, it was too early to tell. The next morning, things went awry at the company as Bo Ram's mistake led to a delayed shipment during the grand opening of a new store. Everyone rallied together to help, but they were still an hour behind schedule. As a result, the makeup artists, who were supposed to be the models, left. Only Koo Ryon remained, but she agreed to stay on the condition that she would be treated to a meal. During dinner, Koo Ryon focused solely on Yi Na due to her constant chatter. Upon returning to her room, Koo Ryon concluded that Yi Na was the target. Through careful observation, Koo Ryon noticed Yi Na's obsession with being thin. She wouldn't eat any meat and only had a small piece of mushroom. Despite her seemingly normal weight, she envied Koo Ryon's perfect physique, going as far as to vomit the mushroom she ate. Koo Ryon's suspicions were further confirmed the next day when the department head took the team out to dinner. He jokingly teased Bo Ram for eating too much, but she didn't mind, knowing he was just messing around. Seeing Yi Na eat very little, Bo Ram offered her a candy bar, which triggered Yi Na's obsession and led to her throwing it away. Society, however, scrutinized everyone, whether they were overweight or underweight. Yi Na's obsession was escalating, and her condition was undeniable. The trio prepared for action, anticipating a peak during the company's upcoming party. At the party, the boss, despite enjoying his meal, couldn't help but tease his employees. Jun Wong, fed up, shoved a piece of food in the boss's mouth, forcing him to rush to the bathroom to wash his hands. Yi Na, unable to bear the conversation, ran away. The 3 chased after her. The company had fully recovered and sent all the necessary information. They split up to search for Yi Na, with Jun Woong being the one to find her. He didn't call out to her but followed her home. Upon arriving, Yi Na sealed the door and released nitrogen gas to attempt suicide. Luckily, Jun Woong had Yi Na's bag and managed to reach her room and open the door just in time. At the hospital, Yi Na asked Jun Woong why he saved her. He wanted to know her reason first. She revealed that she had been overweight in school and constantly ridiculed as a pig. This painful past drove her to lose weight drastically through starvation and purging. Her goal was to become someone admired by others, but regardless of her weight, she was always scrutinized. Jun Woong, listening intently, stepped out to ask Koo Ryeon for advice. He returned and shared that his younger sister had also struggled with weight gain, leading to a breakup and relentless scrutiny. She had locked herself in her room, but his mother brought her back to the light. He explained that people would always find something to criticize, even if it was just their own reflection. He encouraged Yi Na to live for herself and free herself from the burden of societal expectations. Jun Woong's heartfelt advice helped Yi Na change her mind. Her negativity index returned to a safe level. Lim was astonished by Jun Woong's ability to solve the situation with just words. Koo Ryeon had Lim write a resignation letter and sent him back home. The next morning, Koo Ryeon met the boss and punched him twice. She cursed him, saying that whenever he mocked others, he would suffer from stomach aches and be stuck in the bathroom all day. He didn't believe her and chased after her, mocking her. Immediately, karma struck, and he felt the pain. Yi Na sought advice from Bu Nam and decided to follow Koo Ryeon's guidance to replenish her body. Jun Woong, deeply invested in his work, didn't go home even after finishing his shift. It was only when Koo Ryeon called that he left. Seeing his name tag filled him with a sense of pride. The following day, Jun Woong had to write a report about saving Yi Na. However, he was troubled by the source of the nitrogen gas. He searched online but found nothing and decided to ask Yi Na directly. Seeing her eat properly made him happy. Jun Woong went straight to the point, and upon hearing the answer, he rushed back to the office. Lim was trying his best to excel in the upcoming performance review. Koo Ryeon, having given up on promotions, didn't care about the results. She was about to tell Jun Woong when he returned, presenting them with his findings. He revealed that the group had been communicating through online platforms and only received cryptocurrency payments, making it nearly impossible to track them. The incident with the gas reminded Lim of the bus accident he had encountered before meeting Jun Woong. He wanted to help but faced resistance. Their job was not to act as divine justice. The law forbade the Grim Reaper from interfering in human affairs, and further involvement would lead to deeper entrapment. Human matters should be left to humans. Jun Woong, frustrated, went to the police station to report the case, but his leads were all flawed. Without evidence, the police sent him home. With no other choice, Jun Woong decided to take matters into his own hands. He posted negative comments online, linking them to suicide, and within a minute, a self-proclaimed Grim Reaper messaged him. He accessed the Grim Reaper's online alias and joined a forum with several individuals contemplating suicide, their chosen method being nitrogen gas. Despite his worries, he decided to take a chance and participate. Jun Woong went to his room to retrieve his weapon and headed to the meeting place. There, he met 3 others who saw themselves as burdens on society and wanted to end their lives. The 4 shared a final meal and recounted their life stories. After sharing his own, Jun Woong excused himself to use the restroom and surveyed the area. He spotted the Grim Reaper arriving with a bunch of nitrogen gas. He went downstairs and convinced the others to leave, arguing that life was not worth throwing away. 2 of them left, but the one in the blue shirt remained. The Grim Reaper approached and demanded that Jun Woong retrieve his weapon. Jun Woong gave the blue-shirted man a weapon and charged at the Grim Reaper. He was beaten up but persevered, fueled by his determination. He pushed the Grim Reaper into a corner and used his head to hit him from under the chin, followed by a knockout punch. However, as he stumbled, the blue-shirted man knocked him unconscious. Lim and Koo Ryeon arrived at Jun Woong's room to find his belongings missing. Lim, anticipating Jun Woong's impulsive nature, had installed a tracker on his phone. Jun Woong regained consciousness to find the door sealed shut. The man who had attacked him was the Grim Reaper. He simply enjoyed watching people die and intended to wear a mask and keep Jun Woong trapped. Park, the department head, rushed to Koo Ryon's room but found it empty. Lim and Koo Ryon kicked down the door, with Koo Ryon handing Jun Woong over to Lim and chasing after the Grim Reaper. Lim pleaded with Jun Woong to stop his reckless actions, saying that they had broken the law repeatedly because of him. He would leave after 6 months, but they would have to stay and maintain the balance between the two worlds. Koo Ryon caught up to the Grim Reaper, startling him so much that he crashed his car into the side of the road. She appeared out of nowhere and knocked him out. She was about to take care of him, but was stopped by Lim because it would be interfering with human affairs. Suddenly, the app displayed the next target, which was the Grim Reaper. Jun Woong adamantly refused to help him, but the Grim Reaper drank poison. Lim wanted to call for help, but Jun Woong refused, arguing that he would rather save others than a killer. Koo Ryon admitted that she also didn't want to, but that it was their duty due to their work and the department's responsibilities. Jun Woong could not accept it and decided to leave. Suddenly, Park, the department head, arrived and showed the Grim Reaper what hell was really like, terrifying him into begging for salvation. Park left, and Koo Ryon gave Jun Woong the decision: save the Grim Reaper or quit his job. She left as well. The Grim Reaper, still smug and smiling, knew that if he died, Jun Woong would become a murderer like him. If saved, he wouldn't have to experience hell. The pressure weighed heavily on Jun Woong, forcing him to call for an ambulance. He was still frustrated, though, because the Grim Reaper had gotten what he wanted, and there was no evidence to punish him. The two then left. Back at the office, Lim offered Jun Woong a can of soda. He explained that Koo Ryon used to be just as impulsive and reckless as Jun Woong when she was younger, but she had calmed down somewhat with age. He recounted a time when they had to save a con artist who had defrauded many families into deep debt. Koo Ryon had faced a difficult decision like Jun Woong, but justice was served in the end. The con artist had to live a life of misery for the rest of his days. Lim was confident that the same would happen to the Grim Reaper because Koo Ryon had sent evidence documenting the evil deeds of the Grim Reaper's entire life. The police received the evidence and arrived at the hospital to arrest him. The con artist ran away, fell down the stairs, and would never be able to speak or hear again. He would remain virtually immobile for the remaining 18 years of his life, as fate had intended. The next morning, Jun Woong apologized to Koo Ryon for breaking the rules. She forgave him but reminded him that they were a team and shouldn't act alone. She asked him to get coffee. When he returned, she was gone. He wondered about the team members, like why Lim always left on time and why Koo Ryon was called the person from hell. She arrived just then and met Park, the department head. He wanted to ask her about their past. He revealed that every Grim Reaper had memories of their past lives, and he couldn't understand why his past contained images of Koo Ryon. She had no recollection of meeting him in her past life. He decided that it must have been a mistake. Jun Woong had a dream where he was still living with his mother and sister. Just as he was about to embrace his mother, Lim woke him up. He commented that Jun Woong had been sleeping soundly and that if he slept a little longer, he might become a full-time employee instead of just being there for 6 months. Jun Woong missed his family, so he went to visit them. He found his mother's shop closed and his sister working extra shifts because she was on academic probation. He went to the hospital to see if his mother was there. He remembered the warning and didn't go any further. Just then, he ran into his mother. He pretended to be a regular customer and learned that she had been experiencing dizziness lately and went for a checkup. Back in their room, Koo Ryon noticed Jun Woong sitting there blankly. She asked what was wrong, but he didn't answer. Just then, an incident occurred. The target was unknown but had a negativity index of almost 100 and was located nearby. The three rushed to the location and saw Jun Woong's sister running out into the middle of the road. Jun Woong ran to protect her, while the other two used their abilities to stop the cars. Lim handled the compensation for the car owners, while Jun Woong's sister explained that she had seen a dog running into the street and wanted to save it. She couldn't keep it, so Koo Ryon offered to take it. When Lim returned, Koo Ryon revealed that their target was the dog. Jun Woong was surprised, but the app was still buggy after the virus incident. The three decided to help the dog despite not knowing what was troubling it. They split up and visited various animal hospitals to see if anyone had lost a dog. They searched everywhere but couldn't find any records. At the last hospital, they had the dog checked, discovering it was 15 years old, considered elderly, in very poor health, and had been abandoned for 3 weeks. The group suspected that the dog had been abandoned. Koo Ryon told Jun Woong to go to the image management room and see if they had edited a video about the dog's past. He went there, and they had done it as instructed by Koo Ryon. He watched the video and learned that the dog was adopted by a young boy when he was a puppy. They lived happily until the dog ran away and the boy chased after it, getting hit by a car. The good news was that the boy only suffered a hand injury and was left with a scar. The dog lived happily until the boy grew up. He still cared for the dog but became increasingly distant until he found out the dog was sick and abandoned him. However, when Jun Woong was assigned to care for dogs at the hospital, he noticed the dog's unusual behavior when he mentioned its owner. Jun Woong realized something was wrong and called Koo Ryon. He thought that the dog wasn't abandoned but had run away from home. Lim agreed, noting that someone had posted online 3 weeks ago looking for the dog. While the owner was in a state of distress, Lim messaged him, letting him know that the dog had been found. They wanted to talk privately before the owner arrived. Koo Ryon explained the situation when she and the team found the dog. She just couldn't understand why the dog had suicidal thoughts and ran away. The owner seemed to realize the problem was with him. He had mentioned that if the dog died, he would also die of grief. The dog ran away because it was worried about its owner. Koo Ryon and Lim returned and convinced the dog to accept reality and think about its owner. If it ran away, they would both suffer in the same way. After a while, the dog agreed and followed them to meet its owner. The owner apologized to his dog, and they were reunited in a heartwarming scene. Before they had left for long, the escort arrived. Lim pulled him aside and asked him to wait an hour and a half before proceeding. He was worried about having to write a report, but the escort had a dozen reports ready to be copied. Seeing how stressed Jun Woong and Lim were, the escort relented and left. The two owners walked the same path they had once traveled together and finally said goodbye. The escort took the dog, telling it that it would have many friends on the other side, and should rest easy so that its owner would no longer worry. Jun Woong later recounted the story to his sister. She remembered how her brother had saved someone and ended up hospitalized and appreciated what he had done for her. He then went to the hospital and saw his mother outside. He inquired about her health and how she felt about him. Although bedridden, she promised to stay healthy so that Jun Woong wouldn't worry when he woke up. He hugged her and thanked her before leaving her confused. He went to the company and sat there in a daze. The chairman arrived and asked him what he was thinking about. Jun Woong confessed that he was wondering if what he had done on the bridge was worth it. The chairman explained that everyone experiences that feeling of powerlessness, but only those who overcome it receive a worthy reward. Jun Woong was doing this because of the special privilege granted to him when he woke up. Jun Woong wondered why Lim and Koo Ryon were working there. The chairman replied that they both had pain and regret in their hearts. She didn't want to reveal any more and left early. Days later, rumors about Lim beating someone spread through the company. They even claimed that he had killed someone before. Dong Gi stepped in to disperse the crowd, arguing that they had no evidence to support their claims. Back in his room, Koo Ryon confirmed that the rumors were true. Lim then submitted a transfer request. Koo Ryon couldn't stop him, so she let him go. Jun Woong chased after him and begged him to reconsider, but Lim remained resolute in his decision to leave. Jun Woong then went back to Koo Ryon, and she revealed that she was the one who escorted Lim to his current position and that he was indeed a criminal who had killed 4 people. She recounted Lim's story. He was a genius, but from a poor family, hindering his progress. Despite this, his mother always taught him to read and other things. One night, disaster struck when the county magistrate's men came to take Lim's mother to his mansion. She was a former courtesan, and the magistrate had forced her to serve him alcohol. One night, he became too intoxicated, and the result was Lim's existence. Now, he was forcing Lim's mother to serve him alcohol, promising Lim a better life in return. She agreed, but the magistrate became more and more demanding, leading her to flee and offend him. That night, he sent people to teach her a lesson. Later that evening, while Lim's mother was happily making something for him, he witnessed the county magistrate's men arriving at their house. Having heard rumors that his mother was a courtesan, he confronted her after the men left. He just wanted her to deny it and give him an explanation. But the painful truth led her to commit suicide, leaving Lim heartbroken and alone. Lim grew up and was taught by a master. He returned home and was spotted by a neighbor. He still believed his mother was a dirty courtesan, but the neighbor revealed the truth. Devastated by the truth, Lim went straight to the magistrate's house that night and killed him without hesitation, along with his 3 henchmen. When he killed the headman, he poured all his hatred into his attack. To escape reality, Lim overdosed and died. Ku Ryon escorted him, telling him about his mother's story, how she went from disliking him, believing he was the reason she was abandoned, to developing a motherly love for him, a love so profound that she was willing to sacrifice her life. Lim cried, unsure whether it was happiness or sadness. He decided to become a Grim Reaper so he wouldn't forget that feeling and could watch over his mother from afar. That's what happened. He joined the department to prevent his mother from committing suicide in future lives, no matter what it took. That's also why he only worked for a limited time, to spare the rest of his time searching for his mother. He went to his mother's workplace to buy some of her products, hoping to ease her workload during pregnancy. He then returned home to pack his things to move. Jun Woong invited him to a farewell meal. Ku Ryon arrived later, and the 2 guys went ahead, laughing and joking like friends instead of arguing as they did before. Then Lim saw his mother happily, so he changed his mind and invited Jun Woong to have a drink. Jun Woong confessed that he had heard about Lim's story from the department head. He wanted Lim to be at ease, as his mother was living well. He encouraged him to meet her at least once. However, Lim still felt guilty about the past, believing he was responsible for his mother's death, and left. A month passed. The phone suddenly alerted them that the next suicide target was Lim's mother. Lim, now working in the business department, specialized in entering the dreams of those about to die, informing them in advance and helping them say their final goodbyes. Jun Woong, since Lim's departure, had a heavier workload. While shopping for something to eat with Ku Ryon, he noticed Lim's mother on the notification. Ku Ryon decided to keep Lim in the dark, fearing he would lose his cool and make rash decisions. However, while the negativity index was nearly 90 in the morning, it dropped to 30 by evening. The inconsistency raised suspicions for Ku Ryon, who realized there was a glitch but still needed to pay attention. The next morning, Jun Woong brought a cake to visit Lim. He wanted to see if he was okay, but Lim's evasive and secretive manner made him suspect that Jun Woong was hiding something. The following day, Jun Woong and Ku Ryon went to Lim's mother's workplace to investigate. The manager informed them that she had recently lost her baby and wasn't sure if she was doing okay. Regular customers often came to inquire about her well-being, unaware of the miscarriage. They learned that the incident occurred in the final month of her pregnancy. Lim's mother, still working, encountered a difficult customer. The customer complained, disregarding Lim's mother's pregnancy, and created a commotion, resulting in the unfortunate incident. Since then, Lim's mother had been blaming herself for losing her child. Her husband also worried about her, afraid she would be lonely and sad while he was away on business trips. While leaving the restroom, Lim's mother met the difficult customer again. She complained about something, but the chairman arrived and sent the customer away. The customer was there to buy children's shoes for charity. She asked Jun Woong how things were at work without Lim. He said it was okay, just a bit more demanding. He felt the afterlife was quite harsh on those who committed suicide, but it was necessary to help people realize the value of life. That afternoon, while leaving work, Jun Woong and Ku Ryon followed Lim's mother and helped her return home. They cooked some porridge for her but noticed she was asleep and her negativity index had dropped abnormally. Ku Ryon suspected it was related to her dreams and went to Lim's former department to enter Lim's mother's dream. Jun Woong stayed behind to watch over her. As Ku Ryon entered the dream, Lim's mother was living with her child there. Ku Ryon wanted her to wake up, telling her that this wasn't real and she was just escaping. The threat of losing her child increased Lim's mother's negative emotions. Jun Wong tried to wake her up but realized she had taken sleeping pills and called for an ambulance. He had to call Lim and tell him what happened. Lim immediately ran back to the company and kicked down the door to the dream room. He entered and asked Kuryeon to let him handle things. However, Kuryeon couldn't stand by and let things continue this way. She convinced Lim's mother to realize it was all a dream. If they let her commit suicide, her connection with her child would be severed again. Jun Wong managed to get Lim's mother to the hospital, while Kuryeon stepped out, leaving Lim and his mother to talk. While Lim had no authority to claim his mother, he had the opportunity to express his feelings. He convinced his mother to give up and promised that she would see her child again. After the incident, Lim's mother went to the beach to send her message to the heavens, as Lim had instructed her in her dream. When her husband went to get a blanket, Lim met his mother for the last time. He decided to be selfish for once and break the rules, restoring his mother's memories. The mother and son were reunited for a short time, but it was enough for Lim to apologize to her for making her sad, for saying those hurtful words, and for not being able to stay by her side. But he promised to keep watch over her, no matter how long it took. When they had shared their final words, Lim snapped his fingers to recover her memories. That evening, the Kuryeon team gathered for a meal. Jun Wong handed Lim a pre-written report, as he had broken the rules and was bound to return to work. It was there that Lim saw Kuryeon smile genuinely for the first time. The next day, Kuryeon met the chairman and informed her that she still needed to keep an eye on Lim's mother, as her mental state could become unstable. Park, the department head, arrived to hear the chairman talk about his past. The chairman, however, asserted that Kuryeon was the answer he was looking for. Park, confused, went to the archives to find his own death record. However, the records of his past life were locked by the chairman. Kuryeon was also in a similar situation. Park didn't delve deeper, and days went by. His escort team welcomed a new member, Bo-dun. The chairman assigned Kuryeon a mission involving Bo-dun. Back in the office, Lim and Kuryeon explained the mission. They had to prevent Misa from committing suicide, while Bo-yun's mission was to escort Miss B. Miss B wanted to see Misa before she died, and both knew each other through a third person. The group of four went to meet Miss A, listen to her story, and take her to see Miss B. Both women knew a Miss C. At the hospital, Misa apologized to Miss B, revealing that she was a close friend of Miss C and the one who had led her to a brothel where she was raped by Japanese soldiers. Misa thought it was a way to make money at the time, but recently, the truth came to light, causing her immense pain. She hoped to hear what happened from Miss B. Miss B recounted the story. When they thought they were going to Japan to work, someone changed their mind and wanted to return. They were shot by Japanese soldiers. They were taken to a place that was no different from prison, forced to endure rape, beatings, and forced labor. Those who became ill or were no longer useful were discarded. Miss B and Miss C clung to each other for comfort, surviving day by day. The hardship reached its peak, leading them to attempt escape. However, the Japanese soldiers pursued them relentlessly, forcing Miss C to stay behind to ensure everyone else could escape. Miss B lived alone afterward, not wanting to expose her dark past. However, when people began publicizing the incident online and protesting for justice, Miss B gained the courage to come forward. Bo-dun was about to escort Miss B, but she also helped Kuryeon's team because she was Miss C in the story. She met Misa again, forgave her for her mistakes, and prevented her from committing suicide. As they entered the room to prepare for Miss B's escort, Kuryeon wanted Jun Wong to join them. Miss B recognized Jun Wong because she had seen him during their escape. He was the one who helped her and the group escape successfully. Bo-dun and Miss B reunited once more before being escorted. Back at the company, Jun Wong went online and saw many people who didn't sympathize with the women who had been raped, making light of the situation and claiming it was no big deal. Just like the plum blossoms, he thought. They say it's nothing, but when it happens to their own families, they'll be screaming their heads off. That evening, Kuryeon went to a bar alone. Jun Wong, worried, went to check on her but was angrily chased away. After Kuryeon fell asleep, he returned with an umbrella and sat watching over her for a while. The next morning, Kuryeon said she was taking a day off and wouldn't be working. Jun Woong asked where she was going, but she didn't answer. He sat and watched Koo Ryon's negativity index, which was at 100. Lim arrived and told Jun Woong that every Grim Reaper had a day off each year their anniversary. He suspected Koo Ryon's negativity was because of that. He then went to ask the chairman directly. She wanted to know what Jun Woong thought of Koo Ryon. He replied that she used to be quite grumpy and difficult to approach, but now he thought she was amazing and his role model. Hearing that, the chairman decided he was qualified to hear Koo Ryon's story. 400 years ago, Koo Ryon was the daughter of a noble family. While hunting, she saved 2 villagers from a spoiled young lord. The villagers expressed their gratitude, but Koo Ryon didn't consider it a favor, as they had saved her from a snake bite, so she owed them her life. The young lord, meanwhile, wandered through the forest, eventually getting bitten by a snake himself. Koo Ryon brought him back to be treated. Coincidentally, this young lord was Park, the department head. As a way of showing his gratitude, Park hunted a lot of game for the villagers, who informed him about the recent raids of savage tribes in the area. Both went back to their respective homes. Some time later, Koo Ryon's father wanted her to marry. She refused the arranged marriage and ran away. However, when she learned that her intended groom was actually Park, she readily agreed. The wedding took place shortly after, and they enjoyed a long and happy period together. Later, soldiers brought news that the barbarian tribes had crossed the border and were attacking villages. Park was forced to go to war. While he was away, Koo Ryon faced pressure from her mother-in-law. Since she hadn't given birth to a child, her mother-in-law had little affection for her. Suddenly, the barbarian tribes somehow managed to enter the village and began to slaughter the villagers. Koo Ryon had to step up to protect the village because she was the only one capable of fighting, having learned from Park. While protecting and saving others, she was captured. Park returned to the village only to find it in ruins, with only his mother surviving. Upon hearing that Koo Ryon was captured, he quickly mounted his horse and pursued them. Koo Ryon and several other women were taken to the barbarian tribe's camp. She devised a plan to poison the barbarian tribe's food, causing them to die from food poisoning. She then took advantage of the situation to escape with the group. Park arrived just as they left. The group ran towards the city gate but was stopped by soldiers who suspected them of being traitors. Park arrived to clear the way and brought them inside. They thought they were finally safe, but this was only the beginning of the tragedy. A year passed, and Koo Ryon and the other women who had been captured were considered outcasts. They believed these women had slept with the barbarians in exchange for their return. The rumors spread, and Park became increasingly enraged for Koo Ryon. He swore to behead the person who started this rumor. One day, while shopping at the market, Koo Ryon and her maid were attacked by villagers who threw rocks at them, injuring them. Upon returning, Koo Ryon desperately wanted to commit suicide, but Park stopped her. Heartbroken by his wife's situation, Park lost control. One night, he went through the village, killing those who had spoken ill of his wife. Koo Ryon stopped him, saying she shouldn't have returned, causing him to suffer and kill his own people. She returned to the village and, filled with regret that would haunt her for lifetimes, decided to take her own life. Upon returning, Park was devastated to see the body of the woman he loved. Back in the present, Jun Woong felt heartbroken for the tragedy of the person he admired. He now understood why Koo Ryon chose to be a Grim Reaper. She didn't want anyone to experience the same regret she had. The chairman had no way to intervene in Park and Koo Ryon's fate, so she simply locked Park's memories. The next day, everything returned to normal. Koo Ryon received a new mission. This time, the target was a famous singer and actress. Due to her fame, she had a large fan base, but also a considerable number of anti-fans, especially the latter. While working as a bodyguard for the actress, Jun Woong overheard rumors about her stealing another woman's husband. The actress explained that she had a date with a friend at that hotel and coincidentally met someone who wanted to hire her for an advertisement. But they hadn't finalized the deal. They were both on the same floor and went up together. Someone else took a picture of them, leading to misunderstandings. The source of her negativity was identified as pressure from the public and her family. Her father spent all the money she earned, and her blunt personality made it difficult for her to make friends, whether romantically or professionally. The constant pressure weighed on her, but she still tried to rehearse, despite her mental instability. An incident occurred when she fainted on stage, and Jun Woong took her to the hospital. Koo Ryeon helped her reduce her negativity and assigned Jun Woong to guard the singer 24/7. Koo Ryeon believed this might be Jun Woong's final mission, as his deadline was approaching. Meanwhile, Park learned that Koo Ryeon had also been a suicide victim and rushed to the chairman. He once again wanted to know about his and Koo Ryeon's past. However, the chairman had made a pact with Park, locking his memories. Fueled by rage, Park turned away and punched a colleague who tried to stop him. Back on the other side, Koo Ryeon and Lim went to the hotel and lured the security guard out, allowing them to retrieve the footage of the misunderstanding that night, preventing further risks, as the rumor was spreading online. Jun Woong just got out of the car to get the singer's script when he was surrounded by reporters. He checked his phone and saw fake news spreading like wildfire. The singer's negativity index spiked. Jun Woong was forced to call Koo Ryeon. She and Lim rushed back, but the singer had already run away. The three split up to search, and Koo Ryeon found her. The singer was about to commit suicide, but Koo Ryeon stopped time. Just then, Park appeared. He wanted to know about her promise to the chairman, but she refused, saying she had to save the singer. He decided to stop Koo Ryeon, using the power of the pact they had made. Koo Ryeon was frozen, unable to move, and watched as the singer was hit by a car. Park left, leaving Koo Ryeon helpless on the road. Lim immediately called an ambulance, and Jun Woong could only help Koo Ryeon calm down. Koo Ryeon was no longer gentle. She broke the rules and tracked down the person who had spread the rumors online, making them pay. Jun Woong tried to find a place to publish a correction, but it was useless as the rumors had spread too far. Koo Ryeon found the person who had spammed insulting comments and made him permanently disabled. Jun Woong returned to the room and found Lim showing him a scene of a guy spreading rumors about the singer on a live stream. Koo Ryeon appeared and beat him up. News about Koo Ryeon's appearance began to spread, and Lim tried to stop her, but he couldn't. The chairman was in a difficult position. A Grim Reaper from hell went to the company to bring Koo Ryeon back to the chairman, claiming that she was too lenient. He gathered the other department heads to overthrow her. The chairman refused to help Koo Ryeon, forcing Lim and Jun Woong to move to a different department. Jun Woong had to obey, as their 6-month agreement wasn't over yet. But then he remembered a way to help Koo Ryeon. Jun Woong went to find Lim and decided to tell Park what he had heard from the chairman. He went to see Park and asked him to rescue Koo Ryeon. Park refused and punched Jun Woong, so Jun Woong revealed that he knew everything about him. He told Park to check his dreams to find out the truth. He went to Lim's office and entered the dream room, watching his own dream. Park watched and learned everything. Meanwhile, Lim and Jun Woong were searching for Koo Ryeon, as the internet troll had provoked her, leading them to believe she would confront him. Just as they were about to leave, Koo Ryeon arrived and beat the troll up again. She left before Lim and Jun Woong arrived, so they chased after her. Jun Woong used the words Koo Ryeon had taught him to convince her to return to the right path. Just then, the director of Hell arrived to take Koo Ryeon away. Park appeared and stalled for time, as they still needed to save the singer. With his extensive experience, he single-handedly fought against 4 of the director's subordinates. When the 4 subordinates fell, the director himself stepped in. Caught off guard, Park could only hold the director back, unable to fight back. Koo Ryeon arrived in time to stop the singer from committing suicide and successfully convinced her to stay in the mortal realm. She entrusted the singer's care to Jun Woong, sensing a connection between them when he held her. Meanwhile, Koo Ryeon gathered all those who had spread rumors into the White Room. She went back to the company to face punishment, but the chairman didn't punish her, as Park took the blame. He confessed that he had used the power of their pact to force Koo Ryeon to commit the crime. He explained that he had allowed Koo Ryeon to escape because he wanted to catch her himself, but the director wouldn't allow it, so they fought. As a result, Koo Ryeon was cleared of all charges, while Park was confined for a month and demoted to a junior employee after 6 months. A few weeks later, Jun Woong helped the singer recover. He cooked for her, but Lim rushed in to stop him, knowing Jun Woong was a terrible cook. However, this time, Jun Woong's cooking had improved, and the food was edible. After the meal, the team told the singer they had solved everything. The malicious rumors were dealt with, and the trolls had been caught. They were released from the White Room only after they deleted all the slanderous information. The videos of Koo Ryon's appearance were also deleted. Those who had posted rumors and launched attacks were punished. The singer's negativity completely disappeared. Koo Ryon later visited Park. While they remembered their past lives, their connection had been severed, so they couldn't call each other husband and wife as before. But Park now understood the importance of life and respected the work Koo Ryon was doing. Koo Ryon realized the person she needed to save all this time was herself. The chairman saw her understanding and gave her a choice. Koo Ryon wanted her department to become an official branch, equipped with advanced technology and, most importantly, more staff, as 3 people were not enough. However, the chairman said that Jun Woong had worked diligently, so she wanted to grant him a favor and let him return home earlier than planned. Back in his room, Jun Woong was surprised to hear that he was allowed to go home. The group gathered for a final time before Koo Ryon snapped her fingers and returned Jun Woong to his body, with no memories of what happened. Jun Woong's family was happy to see him awake. He joined the company of his choice and lived a stable life. However, at Jun Woong's company, there was a man suffering from depression due to relentless bullying. When Koo Ryon and Lim arrived to save him, Jun Woong intervened, befriended him, and helped him give up his suicidal thoughts. Jun Woong met Koo Ryon again but didn't remember her. She saw that he was okay and left him be. In about 50 years, they would return to collect his soul and let him work officially as a Grim Reaper.